engines and noise. Before stories were written instead of remembered, there lived an old woman at the edge of a quiet village. No one knew exactly how old she was. Some said she had seen 5 generations come and go. Others whispered she had always been there. Her name was Abena. She lived alone in a small clay house where the forest began to breathe. The villagers respected her, but they also feared her, because Abena was not like the others. She spoke little, she listened much, and sometimes she seemed to know things she should not. Children were warned not to wander too close to her home, not because she was cruel, but because she was different. And in those days, different things were not always understood. One dry season, when the earth cracked and the rivers shrunk into tired lines of mud, Abena went into the forest. She walked deeper than usual, past the familiar trees, past the place where birds still sang, into a part of the forest where silence ruled. There, half buried beneath the roots of a great baobab tree, she found it, a calabash, old, worn, covered in strange markings. It did not belong to the world of the living. Abena crouched down. She stared at it for a long time. Then she picked it up. The moment her fingers touched it, a voice whispered, "Take me, and I will serve you." Abena froze. Her breath slowed. She was not afraid. She had lived too long to fear easily. Instead, she listened. "What are you?" she asked quietly. "I am what you need," the calabash replied. The voice was soft, but it carried something ancient. Abena studied it carefully. Then she nodded and took it home. At first, nothing happened. The calabash sat in the corner of her hut, silent, still, like any other object. Until one evening, when hunger crept into the room, Abena sat by her fire. Her food was gone. The dry season had taken more than it gave. She looked at the calabash. Then, slowly she spoke. "You are what you claim. Give me food." The room held its breath. Then, from inside the calabash came a sound, a soft stirring, and suddenly food began to appear, steaming, fresh, more than she had seen in weeks. Abena did not smile. She did not gasp. She simply nodded and ate. From that day on, she was never hungry again. But Abena was careful. She never showed the calabash to anyone. She never spoke of it. She used it only when needed, because deep down she understood something important. Power always comes with a price, but secrets do not stay hidden forever. One afternoon, a young girl named Amma wandered too close to Abena's hut. She was curious, like many children. She had heard whispers, and curiosity is louder than warnings. She peered through the window, and what she saw changed everything. Abena sat in the dim light, speaking softly to the calabash, and food, endless food, poured from it. Amma's eyes widened. She ran back to the village, breathless, excited. "It's true," she shouted. "The old woman has magic." The village erupted. Hunger had touched them all. The dry season had not been kind, and now one woman had more than enough. By nightfall, a group gathered outside Abena's home. They called out to her. "Share it," they demanded. "We are all suffering." Abena stepped outside. Her face was calm, her voice steady. "This is not for everyone," she said. The crowd murmured. Anger began to rise. "Why?" someone shouted. "Are we not your people?" Abena looked at them long, carefully. because you do not understand it. But hunger does not listen to wisdom. Hunger listens to need. And need can turn into greed. That night, while Abena slept, they came. They took the calabash. They carried it into the center of the village, and they laughed. Now we will never be hungry again. One man stepped forward. He lifted the calabash high. Give us food, he commanded. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the calabash stared, and just like before, food began to pour out. The village erupted in joy. They ate and ate and ate. But then something changed. The food did not stop. It kept coming, faster, more violently, spilling onto the ground, overflowing into the streets. Make it stop, someone cried. But the calabash did not listen. The food became too much. It piled higher. It flooded homes. It filled the village. People began to panic. They ran. They shouted. But the calabash continued, uncontrolled, unending, until the village was no longer a village, but a place buried under excess. Finally, in desperation, they brought the calabash back to Abner. Stop it, they begged. Abner looked at them, then at the calabash. Then she spoke, not loudly, not angrily, but with quiet authority. Enough. The calabash fell silent. The food stopped. The village stood in stunned silence. Abner stepped forward. You wanted what was not yours, she said. You used what you did not understand. No one spoke. You thought it was a gift, she continued, but you forgot. Her eyes moved slowly across the crowd. That every gift has its rule. She picked up the calabash, held it gently, then said the final words they will never forget. Some things are not meant to be shared with everyone. And with that, she turned, walked back to the edge of the forest, and disappeared. The calabash gone with her. The village was never the same again. They rebuilt, they recovered, but they remembered. They remembered the day abundance became disaster, the day hunger turned into greed, the day they learned that not all magic is meant to be taken. And somewhere deep in the forest, an old woman still walks, and a calabash still listens, waiting for someone who understands.
If this story spoke to you, leave a like and subscribe so these African folktales continue to live on for the next generations. Until our next story, walk gently through the world, and may wisdom guide your path.